Hello everyone, Representative Nolan West here. I've been getting a lot of questions about the new House rules. I mean, you've probably seen a few news articles talking about them, but the new majority has really changed the way the process in the House works. Now, it's easy to get bogged down in the boring details on this, but it's an important topic, so I will try and give you a clear picture of what's actually going on. So in my first video, I talked about how a bill becomes a law, and I explained the committee process. So if you haven't seen that and want to learn about the committee process, that will probably help you in this video here, so I highly recommend it. Here's what's going on. Normally, when you introduce a bill, it goes to the Committee of Chief Jurisdiction. So if you introduce a bill, say, on increasing the penalties of texting and driving, that'll be sent to the Transportation Committee. But under the new rules, it now goes to Ways and Means. And from Ways and Means, they will refer it by memo to the Transportation Committee, which that part of it is fine. I mean, that's really just semantics where the bill goes initially, but as long as it ends up in the right spot, A-OK. However, that process does take away some transparency to the process. Now, say in the Transportation Division under Ways and Means that the bill increasing penalties for texting and driving gets amended to say, also mandate hands-free devices in your car. So that's a pretty big change, and now that bill will be passed out of that committee and it'll head back up to its parent committee, Ways and Means. Whereas before the rule change, that would head to the floor and then to the next committee rather than Ways and Means, which in this case would be Public Safety. Now why that's important is because the bill only changes language on the floor. So when you amend the bill in committee, if it never goes to the floor, you never see what the language is unless you were there in committee. When you look up the bill online, it'll just say, increasing penalties for texting and driving. It won't have anything about the amendment that was added in committee. So then the bill will go to Public Safety by memo from the Ways and Means chair. But if you're not there, you don't even know the bill was amended because the language still is unchanged. Now it could be amended further in Public Safety, and Public Safety will pass it back up to Ways and Means. But if it doesn't go to the House floor, the language will never change. So it creates a real problem when you're trying to see how a bill that's important to you is going through the process, and how is it changing? Is it getting better? Is it getting worse? Is it getting hijacked by something entirely? And you won't know almost until the bill is being voted on officially. So once it leaves Ways and Means and goes to the floor for a vote, then the bill will change. Then all the amendments will be included. But unless it might catch you entirely off guard, unless you can afford to send a lobbyist down there to track every single moment the bill moves in committee, which most people can't do that. This change also makes it so legislators never really need to vote on a bill in committee. Before, for a bill to move from one committee to another, you'd pass it out of that committee, it'd go to the floor and get changed if it changed, and then go to another committee. But in the new process, you don't even need to pass it out of committee. You can just lay it on the table, not take any vote on it, and the chair of Ways and Means can pluck it right out of the committee and send it on its way. And so that really hamstrings the minority, because that's usually where you can get legislative intent on the record and really get people on the record of whether they support this bill or not before it comes to the floor. So if you're a proponent of the bill, you know who to try and convince, and if you're an opponent, you know who to try and convince the other way. And this takes that away entirely if they don't want to vote on the bill. The only committee that really needs to vote on the bill is Ways and Means. And that's, once they pass it, then it's off to the floor for the vote of the full House. So many legislators will be entirely locked out of the process until the very last moment before the bill is going to be sent to the Senate or sent to the governor. And for people who are trying to follow on the outside, not only will they not know what amendments has changed and all that, as I discussed earlier, but they won't know which legislators support or don't support the bill because it never had to be voted on in committee until Ways and Means. So if the legislators they're concerned with aren't on Ways and Means, they won't know how they're going to vote on the bill until it gets to the floor. And again, all this is fine if you can afford to have a lobbyist go from door to door, talk to every single 200-some legislators and get their opinion on the bill. But that is not what 99.999% of the people are able to do. And you can't dedicate your whole life to following the legislature when you have a real job. Now that's all the bad, but there is some good. I mean, there's some reasons that people want to change these rules. I mean, I'm not going to ascribe evil motives to people when that's not obviously the case. I mean, we do that too much as a society already. The last few sessions have ended very chaotically. Bills get pushed to the last minute. These giant omnibus bills come to the floor with very little time to review them. They get voted on. Things are included nobody knew. It can be a mess. And when so many things are changing in the last 3 days or 3 hours, it's really impossible to track that too. So it's not a very transparent process either. And the new rules do allow bills to move through the process quicker. So to avoid that chaotic end, the thinking is if we can get bills through the committee process faster, then maybe we'll be able to get our work done in advance so it's not all crashing towards the end. And also, many in the public want to see bills move faster through the process. Everybody wants to see their priority get, boom, into law as fast as humanly possible. Now, those are features, but I think if we're going to do anything on legislative reform, it should make the process more transparent, not less. These rules really make it hard for the average person to follow a bill. And the legislature is supposed to deliberate. It's supposed to analyze these topics minutely and really make educated, well thought out decisions. It's not supposed to just pass things to get the rah-rah of the public, because once you pass something, it's in law. It's very hard to repeal law. It's much easier to make law. So when we make law, we have to be very careful, because more than likely what we put into law will never change. So to me, the increased speed creates more problems for bad laws to be passed, even good laws, but with unintended consequences that could have been caught in a more deliberate process. And these new rules don't create more transparency. They create significantly less. Especially if your bill's getting amended, you're going to have no idea what it's changing to until it's basically too late. And you won't know where your legislators stand on it until it's to the floor. So all in all, I think these are bad rules. There are some good reasons for them. There are some problems with the legislative process we need to resolve. But I don't think this is the right way to do it. Now, if you need any more details, have any more questions for me, please just send me an email or message me on Facebook and just let me know. And I'll get right back to you. And when something interesting happens, hopefully I'll have another video that is entertaining enough for you to watch. All right, have a good one.